School was very hard from a very young age. I never coped with it well, and I was always kind of that kid that was just in the corner. I was always a wallflower. It was very hard for me to mix in with school. And then I think on top of that, it was very hard for me to focus in school as well, because when you've mental health and you're suffering with anxiety or depression or anything else, it's very hard to prioritize your grades because you're just so focused on looking after yourself, and even getting out of bed in the morning can be hard. So school was definitely something that I struggled with.
'Cause everything feels bigger. It's all fire and little stones come.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. You are listening to Don't Be Afraid to Talk podcast with James. I believe if we are going to affect change, we must go back to the basic, which for me, in essence, is conversations. Talking and listening is key for growth, and I hope our stories will bring us together and we can draw inspiration from each other. Conversation will include topics such as mental and physical health, trauma and its effect, suicidal thoughts, recovery, and well-being. We will continue to raise awareness and offer a different perspective, a mindset, or an idea that could inspire you to take charge of your well-being and to grow as a human being. Thank you for joining us today. I'm here with Maeve, who has agreed to come on and share with us her experience on her journey through social anxiety and a lot more we're going to be discussing today. So thank you for joining in, and I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. So, hello, Maeve.
Hi, my name is Maeve. I'm 21. I'm from Cork in Ireland, and I'm here to talk about my journey with social anxiety and mental health.
Super. That was simple. Whew. Sorry, I don't know why I'm sweating.
Me too.
Definitely need to start taking cold showers before I do this. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Before we kick off, we're just going to play a little game. It's a short game, and it's called One for One. And the way it works is I give you a word and you say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah, less thinking. You ready?
Yep.
Friends.
Oh, that's a bit of a sad one, because for me, I think of anxiety. Yeah.
Sorry, what's your answer? Anxiety?
That's a bit of a vulnerable one, but I think naturally if you struggle with social anxiety, making friends can be quite hard.
Okay.
Experiences with it.
All right, so should we keep that, or do you want to leave that one?
Maybe leave that one out, because it's a bit wonderful.
Okay. Reading.
Fun.
Transformation.
Introspection.
Pressure.
Anxiety.
Rejection.
Say that again.
Rejection.
Divine intervention.
And last one, acceptance.
Love.
Super. Now, I don't know how I'd cope with that if someone was asking me those questions. Okay, so I just close this and open this one. So I'm going to be cutting out the little chats in between. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go. I just want to go back from, say, from school and when you discovered that you had this challenge, and then we kind of work our way up from there and then I have, then we're going to be discussing, sorry, there's so many things here. Yeah, then we're going to be discussing things like vulnerability, self-compassion, intuition, and just what these things mean to you.
Yeah, sounds good.
Most of these are things that you put online, so there's nothing surprising on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. So, Maeve, how was school for you?
School was very hard from a very young age. I never coped with it well, and I was always kind of that kid that was just in the corner. I was always a wallflower. Yeah, it was very hard for me to mix in with school. And then I think on top of that, it was very hard for me to focus in school as well, because when you've mental health and you're suffering with anxiety or depression or anything else, it's very hard to prioritize your grades because you're just so focused on looking after yourself, and even getting out of bed in the morning can be hard. So school was definitely something that I struggled with.
And before you knew what was happening to you, if you like, in terms of mental health, like, how did you cope before you had words for it? Was it like, did people think like there's something wrong with you, or?
I guess that people always just labelled me as very shy, and I think because I don't think my parents knew much about it. When I was a child, I was never diagnosed with it, but looking back, me and my parents have come to the conclusion that I was selectively mute, which just basically means that you can't talk in certain scenarios, or you can only talk to certain people. Because for the first 2 years of school, or the first 4 years, I think, I didn't talk. Like, I didn't even, like, I would sit in my chair and I wouldn't talk to anyone, but no one ever really stepped in and did anything. So I kind of just, when you're that age, you don't understand, so you kind of internalize it and you blame yourself. So I think for a very long time I walked around and I thought that there's something wrong with me. Yeah.
And I'm guessing you would have had a very low self-esteem, if you like, back then.
Yeah. Yeah, I had paralysing low self-esteem. Like, I could... And that lasted for a very long time. It's only been kind of recently that I was able to nurture self-confidence and self-love. Yeah, it was like, I remember just not being able to get my words out. And I always just thought to myself, like, why can't I get my words out? And I would try to force them out, but, like, it was just my body and my mind was just on survival mode. It just...
In a different place.
Yeah, my mind was just like, I was always a daydreamer. People would just be like, oh, she's so shy, she's just a daydreamer. But it was something a bit more than that, I think.
Like, I'm trying to talk, but I can't. And did you find it hard to make friends? Was it difficult? Because I'm guessing...
So in primary school, I think it was easier because when you're a kid, like, you kind of just become friends with people. You're a lot more accepting when you're that age. But when I grew up and I went to secondary school, as a teenager, it became a bit harder, but I still managed to, like, have that set friend group, and that got me through school, and I had really close friends. But it was more when I got out of secondary school and I went to college was when it really hit me, because I've lived in the same place my entire life, so I just went through school with everyone, like my neighbours, my family friends, so I was kind of like cushioned. But then when I went to college, I was just thrown into a completely new school, completely new environment with completely new people, and yeah, I couldn't cope with that, and I found it very hard to make friends.
And was it sorry. Did you find yourself when you got to college after school, was it a case where you felt like you couldn't be around new people, or was it a case where, like, did you want to be by yourself because it was a new surrounding?
I think that's what I told myself. Like, at the time, I told myself I want to be alone, I don't want to be here, I hate school. But as I've grown up and I've gotten to understand myself a bit more, I think that was just a way of making myself feel better, kind of repressing things. And looking back, I think that deep down I wanted to make friends and I wanted to enjoy college, but I was not able, and I wasn't in the right mental state. I wasn't healthy enough to be able to do that.
Yeah. And did you have someone in college to talk to when you're going through this?
No. I had one friend who came from secondary school with me, but she was in a different class and we had a very different schedule. So a lot of the time I just ended up being on my own.
Yeah, yeah. And just going back in your school days, like, I'm guessing when you're trying to explain things in a class was very difficult. So did you have teachers kind of thinking, like, what is wrong with that girl? Why can't she speak?
I think some teachers understood it. I think there were a few teachers in mine that were always very nice to me, but then there were also a few teachers who I don't even think they should have been teachers. They were just so, like, they had no compassion and they had no understanding.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, geez, I suppose, even from their point of view, well, depends on the person. Some people might understand what's happening and others don't. And a lot of the time when people don't understand what's happening, they avoid it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And how was, when you were diagnosed with social anxiety, do you remember, like, what was happening in your life at that time?
I mean, I guess I was going through it for such a long period of time, and I still am. Like, your anxiety never goes away. Everyone has experiences anxiety. It's just how I've learned to change my relationship with it. But I think that there was just so much going on throughout my life. I can't really pinpoint that.
Yeah, yeah. And then, sorry. Were you ever taught, like, things to do when you get, I don't think it's been overwhelmed, but did someone teach you, like, how to cope with it? Or, like, when you're going through this in college, was conversation, like, mental health and things like that mentioned?
I went to a, like, guidance, what's it called, a guidance counsellor in college.
Career guidance, is that? Yeah.
It's like a, someone there to help you with your mental health, get you through it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think that it was more there for support and a safe space that I could talk about my issues. But I don't ever really remember anyone giving me any solid advice or tools to cope. I kind of had to figure that out on my own, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I'm guessing going to college, it was every morning must have been like, oh, I have to go here again. Yeah,
like, it was hard to drag myself out of bed and get in, but I forced myself to, and then eventually, like, my grades just started suffering, because if you don't look after yourself, or if you're not healthy, obviously, like, that's your grades are going to suffer. And I got to a point where I just stopped going in.
Okay.
I just stopped going in, and eventually, like, I made it through. I did my exams, but I got to the point where I was like, I don't even care, because I couldn't care.
Yeah, yeah. And how was life at home at the time? Like, how did your parents support you through this? I'm guessing, yeah, how did your parents support you through this?
My parents have always been supportive, but I suppose they struggled to know what to do as well. And I think a lot of parents must feel like that if they have a child suffering. It's like, they want to help, and I could tell that they wanted to help, and I could tell how much they cared, but I could tell at the same time that they were struggling with a lot of guilt, and they just didn't really know what to say, and they didn't know what to do. And they brought me to the doctors, and they paid for like therapist appointments and things like that, and that all did help to a certain point. But I think that's all they could really do. Like, they couldn't wave a magic wand and make things better.
Yeah, everything was different. And in terms of how was the therapist that you went to, how was your relationship with them?
So I've been to a lot of therapists in my life. I've been to about 8 different therapists. And I think I had, like, can't remember what age I was when I first went to therapy, but...
You've been to how many? Sorry.
Like 8 different therapists, yeah. So that includes like private therapy, and then I've been to Pieta House and like school therapists. Yeah, so I've a lot of experience with that, but I've always found that it never really helped. Like, I think that it helped because it gave me an extra bit of support and an extra safe space to vent and like just vent my problems without feeling like I needed to hold back, because they're a therapist, that's their job. It helped in that sense, but I never found that they gave me any solid tools.
And was out of your 8 to them that you saw, I'm guessing, was each one of them approach different? Did everyone have their own different approach?
A couple of them did, but I remember going to a few, and they straight up told my parents, like, I don't know what to do. Like, oh,
like, we don't know what to do with her.
Yeah, we don't know what to do with it. They were completely honest. A lot of them just didn't really know what to do, and I think that came from just a lack of understanding. And I think from what I've gathered from my experiences, there isn't a lot of awareness or understanding of social anxiety specifically. Yeah.
Did you ever try CBT?
Yeah, I did, yeah. And that was the best. My favourite therapist was the one that did CBT with me.
Yeah, and did that help you a lot? Like, to calm your...
I think it helped me because it gave me, like... It helped me gain a deeper level of understanding.
Of what it was?
It helped me to kind of connect the dots. Why I was experiencing what I was experiencing. So that it helped me a lot in that sense.
And with social anxiety, I don't know that much about it, sorry. Is there like certain events or certain people that would trigger that come, like, for you to start feeling the way you did feel?
So for me, my experience with it was that for some reason school triggered it a lot. I think just in general being around large crowds.
Yeah. I
found it very hard to be in like a bus if there was a lot of people in the bus, or just in a classroom setting. And it just basically what happens is you start to get like the typical anxiety symptoms where your heart begins to flutter and you get heat flashes and you just kind of freeze and you can't move and you feel like you can't talk. And then I would also dissociate a lot. So what that means is it would feel like I was disconnecting from reality, and I just felt like I was constantly in a dream state.
And I'm guessing some people with social anxiety might say like they have a fear that they're constantly being watched. Do you ever feel like that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like you're over-analysing everything. Like when you're having a conversation with someone, your mind just over-analyses everything that you're saying, and it's like you're overly aware of yourself.
Okay. So you kind of talking to people and you're trying to analyse everything at the same time as well.
Yeah.
What you're saying and what they're saying.
Yeah.
That sounds like that sounds like a lot. And sorry, where am I on this thing? Oh yeah, sorry, this is my next question. Do you ever feel like a victim? As in, like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah, definitely. I think that that's something that I've asked myself a lot throughout my life. Why me? And I think that it's very easy to compare yourself to other people.
Yeah.
Especially when you're like at the age I'm at, I don't struggle with that as much, but I know when I was a teenager I would compare myself to people constantly going out with their friends, and I think when you're a teenager your social life is very important. But
Yeah.
I could never really be a part of that. I felt like that. I felt I was always excluded. So yeah, it was.
It's like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Why can't I just be normal, even though there is no such thing as normal? And did you ever try medication to help you?
Yeah, I did, but that wasn't for my anxiety, because I was diagnosed with depression as well at one point, which is common when you're suffering with anxiety or social anxiety. It's very common to have depression as well, and it did definitely help. But once I got off it, it just kind of came back. And I had to really work on myself and do a lot of self-reflection and
Try and find a way to cope with that medication.
Yeah.
And sorry. And what made you? Sorry, what was the question? At what point did you decide that you're going to try different alternative, like try not fix yourself, but look for ways to get a handle of what you're going through?
I think that would have been maybe 2 years ago, because I'd gotten to the point where when I was about 16, I had gained a lot of confidence, right? And I learned to kind of, in a way, repress my social anxiety. When I discovered like alcohol, I would drink my social anxiety.
Yeah, that suppresses a lot of things. Yeah.
Exactly. So that happened for a few years, but obviously that's not sustainable, and things have to fall apart at some point, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And when they did, I realised there's no quick fix to this. There's no...
it wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, it wasn't going anywhere. So that was when I really had to sit with myself and realise I need to heal this from the inside out. I need to get to the core of it, and I need to be consistent with keeping up with my mental health and really looking after myself. And that means not drinking away my social anxiety or burying my emotions. It means like sitting with myself, eating healthy foods, practicing exercise, journaling things out, having a lot of self-dialogue. And that was when things really began to turn around for me.
And when you took the route of, so I'm just going back, when you took the route of drinking to put the problems down, was it, when you had the alcohol, you obviously felt everything kind of went away type of thing, did it?
Yeah.
And then the next morning, then I'm guessing it just felt.
Yeah, it all came back then. Because it's like when you're drinking, you're suppressing everything and it goes away for a while. But then when you sober up again, it hits you 10 times harder.
And then, then the blame starts to come back again.
Yeah, exactly.
You start blame. And when you made a decision to start healing yourself, what was one of the first things you did? Because there are so many ways to go like when someone decides to start doing self-healing and things like that, there's so many ways to start doing that. What was the first thing?
I think what I did was I just slowed down. I said I have to admit to myself and be 100% honest with myself, no matter how much it hurts. And I said, I'm not healthy, I need to slow down. And I was unemployed for a while. I just took time to feel my emotions and heal the relationships around me. And just make sure that I was taking things easy, because that's what I needed at the time.
When you're talking about self-reflection, does that mean doing a lot of writing?
Yeah, for me, I journaled a lot. I journaled about how I felt, and then I tried to understand why I felt what I felt, and through doing that, I began to understand my triggers. And when you can identify your triggers and your feelings and what you're repressing, you begin to find the solutions.
Yeah, and in terms of feeling your emotions, that must be difficult because a lot of people don't want to do that.
Yeah, definitely. People will do anything to run away from their emotions. Like, no one wants to sit with themselves and cry their emotions out. It's much easier to pick up a drink or just constantly keep yourself busy, because that's easier. But in the end, those emotions will start to come up in one way or another. Whether it's just like fatigue, or you start bleeding out onto others and start getting very like short patience. It'll start coming out, so it's very important to just accept what's happening and practice unconditional acceptance with yourself and patience, and be honest with yourself.
Yeah. Even being honest with yourself, that's another very difficult thing that most people will find hard to do. So for you, when you say being honest with yourself, is that like, say, when you're doing your journaling and you had like a bad day, is that what you write down, or do you just write whatever comes to your mind?
I just write whatever comes to my mind, but I try to really sit with myself before I journal. Just close my eyes and look within to see what I'm feeling, because sometimes you'll go throughout your day, you keep busy, and then when you actually sit with your feelings, it's kind of a shock. Like, it's kind of like a surprise. You're like, I didn't even realize I was feeling this angry towards this person, or I was feeling this ashamed, or I didn't realize I was feeling this sad. And then when you sit with yourself, you can realize what you're really feeling and write that out.
Yeah, and when you talk about forgiveness there, that's another difficult thing that people find hard to do. I think because, like, when you're talking about forgiveness, how do you explain it? Because people think that you have to forgive what happened to you and things like that, or ring people and tell them you're forgiving them. Like, I'm guessing what you're talking about is completely different.
Yeah, forgiveness isn't really just being okay with what happened necessarily, if that makes sense. It's kind of accepting what's happened and finding it. Yeah, that's how I put it's acceptance, so that you can release what you're not forgiving. You accept it, and then you can release it, and then you can finally move forward.
But even if you forgive, you don't really forget. Like, you still, obviously, whatever it is you're forgiving, or the person you're forgiving, the event is still there.
Yeah.
You're just kind of letting it go.
Yeah, it's kind of, forgiveness a lot of the time is more for yourself than it is for the other person. It's releasing it, it's letting it go so that you don't have to hold on to it and you don't have to let it control your life anymore.
That has to be difficult.
Yeah,
especially if the event is something really bad happened. Like I'm guessing you have to keep doing that, because I don't think you can just do it once and.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I think it takes a lot of work to get to the place where you find forgiveness.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes it can feel impossible. Some people, it just feels like you don't want to forgive them, because making the choice to forgive them almost feels like allowing them to do whatever they do.
Okay, like you a part of you thinking, okay, if I forgive this person, I'm happy. Well, I'm not happy. I'm allowing them to do the same thing again.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you forgive someone, it can almost feel like you're telling them it's okay. Or you're telling yourself that it was okay that it happened. But I think it's important to realize that it's not okay. What happened isn't okay, and you deserve to feel angry. Being angry is actually a very healthy thing sometimes. And it's telling yourself that I love myself enough to be able to forgive this so that I can begin to move forward and focus on myself, and I don't need to have this weigh as heavy on me as it has been.
Yeah, it sounds like something that you have to do more than once, and over a period of time to actually get to a place where it doesn't. Well, you haven't forgotten, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to you anymore.
Definitely, yeah. And I don't think you should force forgiveness either. If you don't forgive them, don't tell yourself that you forgive.
Okay, just don't say like, oh, I've forgiven you, but deep down you're like, I hate what you did to me.
Yeah, exactly, because I think that's just another form of repressing something.
Okay, yeah.
So I think it's important to be authentic, and again, you need to be honest with yourself. So if you haven't really come to a point where you forgive this person, don't lie to yourself and don't lie to them. But I think it's working through the emotion and looking inwards enough and having enough time to be able to sit with yourself until you get to a point where you feel ready to be able to forgive.
Okay. Having social anxiety, I'm guessing you would have done a lot of repression. You would have repressed a lot of things over the years. So even sitting with yourself and allowing those things to come up, it had to be difficult.
Yeah, definitely. It's still something I work on every single day, I would say.
Okay, it's not like, oh, I've done that part already. This is ongoing work.
And I think that's just how it is for everyone. I think healing is always going to be there. There's always going to be something that you have to work on and you have to heal.
And how did you end up in like healing and things like that? Sorry. Like how did you end up just because you're like 21, I'm just like 21-year-olds are not really talking about healing and sitting down with emotions. I don't know, maybe they are now, but it wasn't like that when I was 21.
I think that, honestly, I've always been like this. Like, I even remember being only a small child and like reading like my parents' self-help books and like psychology books.
Okay.
I think it's just a part of who I am. It's not something I can change.
Yeah, it's not like you just stumbled on it one day.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, when I was 21, I don't think the word healing even only kind of related to church. Yeah, not in personal life. But anyway, in terms of, would you say you're more vulnerable now? Because when you're doing this kind of work, with yourself, you have to become more vulnerable. And
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
when people are talking about vulnerability, the perception is that it's a weakness, and that is how society see it. So when you're talking about vulnerability from, like, for yourself, I'm guessing you're thinking differently as to, like, it's not a weakness.
I think the strongest people are the people who are the most vulnerable. You cannot have vulnerability without strength. And people who say that vulnerability is weak don't understand what it takes and the emotional strength that it takes to allow yourself to be vulnerable.
Yeah, I think even me doing this now has been vulnerable. Jesus. I think anyway. But yeah, I think especially, well, from male point of view, you're not meant to express any emotions, and women don't really have that mindset. Well, yeah, women don't really have that mindset. But with vulnerability, it's still, is it a case where you think, okay, if I'm being vulnerable toward this person, they might take advantage of me?
Yeah.
Like, they might perceive me as, oh, that is the weak link.
Yeah. Being vulnerable, it's putting yourself at risk. So it is a very hard thing to do, and I think it is important to be intentional when you're vulnerable. Obviously, that's not possible all the time, but when you're intentionally vulnerable, it's very, very healing, and it's very transformative, and it's where you find the deepest connection with other people.
Yeah. Is that, I'm guessing it's not easier to start, especially if it's not something that you're used to.
Yeah, I think baby steps.
Yeah,
is key.
yeah. Don't just walk in and throw all your problems on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah. And you mentioned self-compassion. And what does that look like to you?
Self-compassion is so important. It's being able to make mistakes, and it's being able to allow yourself to feel everything that you need to feel: angry, shame, sad, vulnerable, and just be able to speak to yourself in a way where you can say, I understand why you did that. I understand why you made that mistake, and I understand why you're feeling this way.
So it's getting away from the victim mentality that you had.
Yeah, but I think sometimes, this might be a bit controversial, I don't know, but I think sometimes it's alright to just say, I'm a victim, and to like have a victim mentality, because sometimes you are a victim, but it's just not to dwell in that. Does that make sense?
like accept, like if you did something that you shouldn't have. Now, we're not talking about big things now, because we're talking about everyday things, because a lot of people are so hard on themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you're talking about self-compassion, you mean like just kind of go easy on yourself, like allow yourself to make mistakes and things like that.
Yeah, and I think especially if you're someone who's struggled with social anxiety, when you have social anxiety, you beat yourself up on a daily basis. Everything you do feels like a mistake, so being able to learn how to be self-compassionate with yourself and understand that mistakes are just a part of being human it's an amazing thing, and it's something to be proud of, I think.
And would you spend a lot of time just on your own, just with your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a big introvert as well, so I love reading, and I love journaling, and I love painting and all that stuff. So
yeah,
I definitely spend a lot of time like reflecting and learning and observing.
And what type of what are you reading at the moment?
At the moment, I'm reading a book called The Completion Process by Teal, Swan. It's really, really good.
What's the name? The Completion
The Completion Process by Teal Swan. She's amazing. She's like a thought leader, kind of like spiritual thought leader, and she's very, very smart.
Just want to check out. What other stuffs have you read?
I've read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I always talk about that book. I think it's amazing, and I think everybody should read it.
Yeah, that's my go-to book when I'm overthinking.
Yeah.
When I'm overthinking. And do you think, because a lot of people now, well, I don't know, I'm just talking from what I think, that there's less and less people reading. It's because it's easier to be on your phone than it is to sit down and read a book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find yourself, like, would you enjoy reading more than you would doing like other activities?
I'm definitely just like anyone else, where you kind of have a bit of an addiction to your phone. I think everyone does. You get sucked into like Instagram, or TikTok's the worst app. I
don't even have it. I don't have the app, and I don't think I want it.
Yeah, I always find myself downloading it and then deleting it again, because I just waste so much time on that app. But I think your phone, I think all the different social media apps are just fighting for your attention. They're literally designed to hack your psychology and fight for as much of your attention as it can get. And I don't like it, but I definitely do get sucked into it. But I make it a priority to schedule in time to my routine, where I'm not on my phone, I'm not on any screens, and I can just go for a walk or read or just spend time with my boyfriend or my friends or my family.
Yeah, you can easily get sucked into apps, and before you know it, an hour is gone, 2 hours is gone.
Yeah, and it's horrible for your mental health as well.
At the end, you just think, like, what was that all about?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's... And how would you, on your healing journey, would you be more aware of your environment now? As in, if you sense that environment is toxic for you, would you still go in, or would you be like, are you at that place where you can go to an environment that you wouldn't have years ago?
I'm definitely a lot more disciplined with that, and I can definitely make better choices. And if someone invites me out to a party or something and I don't want to go, I just won't go. And I'll always like...
And you don't feel guilty about it either, no?
No, I don't feel guilty about it at all. Because in the bigger picture of things, if the person got angry, they're not actually my friend. So I don't care. Because they clearly don't care about me in the right kind of ways. And what's more important than what people think about me is how I feel and the people who actually love me. So, no, I don't feel guilty about it at all.
Yeah, just, I'm not coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think, like, all of this would have been different for you at the start? It would have been a change of, like, you would have had to change a lot of things to be where you are now. Look, why do you think people avoid? Why do you think people avoid change? Sorry.
Because change is uncomfortable, and everyone wants to be comfortable. I think that a lot of the times our comfort zone can be our worst enemy. And I think a perfect example of this is if you were brought up in a home that was full of depressed people, your comfort zone is going to become depression. And then in order to become healthy and happy, you're going to have to expand your comfort zone, which means you're going to have to get uncomfortable. And a lot of the times people cling to their comfort zone. They don't want to step into what's unknown and uncertain, because that means they're putting themselves at risk. But a lot of the times what's more risky is staying the same.
Yeah. So is that is it a fear that makes people like want to stay where they are instead of trying?
Yeah, and I think
Fear of the unknown, like.
Yeah, fear of the unknown. And I think a lot of the times people not changing or making the right steps can stem from a lack of self-esteem as well.
Okay.
And a lack of faith in themselves to make the right choices and do the right things.
So, yeah, if you have a very low self-esteem, you'd find it difficult to try something new,
Yeah.
to move out of what you're familiar with, because it might get difficult for you. And would you think that's a part of that is to do with a person's belief? Like with self-esteem, like you can build your self-esteem. So is it a belief that they have a low self-esteem?
Yeah, and I think looking at your belief systems is very important as well, and the stories that you tell yourself about your life and about who you are is very, very important. So if you're telling yourself constantly that you have low self-esteem, or that you can't do this or you can't do that, chances are you can't do it because you're telling yourself you can't do it. But I think a lot of the times changing your perspective can be extremely beneficial.
Yeah, but it is definitely difficult. It is difficult because if you're surrounded with, say, 5 people, for example, and everyone's been doing the same thing, and you decide to step out of that line, it's not only the people going to try and pull you back, like your mind will try and pull you back as well.
Yeah, it's definitely very, very hard, like very, very, very hard. And I think especially if you're surrounded by people who are doing one thing and you want to do another, you're going to definitely be affected by that. And then also I think if you want to do something different, you can start to fear what they'll think of you. And I think all of us, every single human just wants to feel accepted and loved. And if you're in one place and you are surrounded by people who are doing one thing and you want to do something else, you're going to feel unaccepted and judged. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's easier to belong to the wrong group. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I'd said a question here in relation to beliefs. So what was some of the beliefs that you used to have that you no longer have now?
That's a good question. I think one of the biggest beliefs that I had was that there was something wrong with me.
That's the biggest belief that you used to have.
Yeah, and I think especially if you struggle with mental health or you've been diagnosed with something, I think it's easy to let that diagnosis get to your head and tell yourself there's something wrong with me, I'm sick, I'm not like other people. But I don't believe that that's true about anyone. Like, I think everyone's perfect just the way they are to their core. And I don't think that there's something wrong with me anymore. I've completely changed that story about myself. Even when I get anxious, or sometimes I still have panic attacks and stuff, and sometimes I'm still not able to get on buses without feeling too overwhelmed, but I don't tell myself that there's something wrong with me anymore.
Yeah, so when we're talking about beliefs there, you're more talking about the stories that you told yourself in your mind.
Yeah.
So when you decide to drop that belief, obviously it's difficult, I'm guessing. So to start telling yourself a different story, I'm guessing the first time you tried, it was hard.
Yeah, because when you tell yourself, when I began to tell myself that there was nothing wrong with me, it felt like a lie.
Yeah.
And I know that when some therapists used to tell me to look in the mirror and tell myself I was beautiful and that I was perfect, and they would tell me to do that every single morning, but I I would do it, but it just felt so stupid to me because I was like, I'm lying to myself.
It's like,
Just feels so fake. But it's not about lying to yourself. It's more about trying to kind of embody those feelings.
so you'd have to retell yourself a different story so many times before the old one.
Yeah, and it's kind of like reprogramming your subconscious.
And do you find some of your old beliefs now coming back because they're still there? They just haven't. You're just not encouraging them.
Yeah, exactly. They're still there. My anxiety is still here. Like, for even to be able to hop on here and have a conversation with you, that was very hard for me. Like, I'm feeling anxious right now, but the difference is I'm able to step back and detach from it, and I'm able to be aware of it and listen to it. And because I can do that, I don't let it control my life anymore, and I can do the things that I couldn't do in the past.
So awareness is a great thing for you, like becoming aware of.
Yeah, being present and being able to be aware when I'm triggered and what's triggering me and what I'm feeling, and being able to listen to my thoughts as well. I think a lot of people don't understand that they're not their thoughts, they're not their psychology, they're not what they've been through. They're what's listening to their thoughts. They're the awareness behind that. And when you begin to truly understand that, I think everything changes.
Yeah, so when you have, like earlier on when you thought about coming here, a voice in your head probably tried to tell you different stories. So I'm guessing you would have had to, you can step back and realize that it's just another thought coming to your head.
Yeah, exactly. The voice in my head was telling me to run the other way and that I was going to say everything wrong, and I was able to step back and listen to that and tell myself, yeah, I'm feeling anxious, that's okay. Like, I'm feeling anxious, that's okay. I feel this way and that's okay. I'm not going to try to get rid of the feeling. I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to treat myself with love and compassion and take care of it. And then I'm still going to jump on the call and tell myself that it's okay. No matter what happens, I'll still be proud of myself because it's still being a step.
Yeah. And this is what we're talking about. Sorry, I need a drink of water. You can have a drink of water if you need.
I don't have any water, unfortunately, but it's alright.
Okay, sorry. Okay, back on. This is what we're talking about, things like awareness and things. And when you're talking to your friends, do you talk like this? Like watching your thoughts and things like that?
No, well, I try to sometimes, so I don't think, like, I talk about it with my boyfriend, he definitely gets it. And with my best friend, I'll talk to her now and then about these things, and I'll recommend her books, and sometimes I'll give her books, but yeah, I don't think that it's quite hard to find like-minded people, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's one of those journeys. You can't really bring people to it. They have to come themselves.
Yeah, and it's very important to meet people where they're at and just...
Yeah.
You have to practice unconditional acceptance with yourself, but you also have to do that with other people too. And if you're trying to force them to be another way, that's actually really harmful.
Yeah, I think they would just push back.
Yeah,
and maybe think...
they're going to feel criticized and...
Yeah, they're like, you think you're great now. Things like that. Exactly. Yeah, it's important when you start talking about healing and awareness and that kind of topics, if the person's not there, you just have to accept that they're not there.
Yeah, and everyone's on their own journey, so no one's journey is better than another's, and I love this stuff and I love talking about this stuff, but someone else might love something else, and that's perfectly okay. I'm gonna accept them where they're at, and I can teach them things and they can teach me things, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, so being open, it's very important as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you certainly couldn't be doing this if you're very close-minded.
Yeah.
And have you ever had to help people with their social anxiety or anything else? Or are you just focusing on helping yourself at the moment?
I've had to help people. I think I find that a lot of people come to me for advice.
That's good.
Yeah, and I try, like, my family comes to me. I have a younger brother, and then my boyfriend and my parents, and I run my Instagram account. A lot of people come to me for advice there. Yeah.
And how do you find that?
Yeah, I love helping people. I love being able to help people. But I also make sure to take care of my own energy and have very strong boundaries. I think that's very important as well.
Yeah, and when you're talking about boundaries, oh, sorry. I need some more water. Okay, that'll be cut out. Yeah, sorry. When you're talking about having your own boundaries, is that just for your own, obviously for your own mental well-being, like knowing when to say no to people, but in a nice way, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've all been in the position where someone needs our help, or someone's venting to us about their day or something, but we're struggling ourselves and we don't have the capacity to do that, and we're abandoning ourselves to help them. And I think looking after yourself is the most selfless thing that you can do, because that means that you can give back to people 10 times more. You can't be a generous person if you're not looking after yourself. You can't give from an empty cup. So I've definitely learned how to say no to people and how to switch off and look after myself when I need to.
Learning to say no is one of the hardest things people can do. Well, especially when you're used to saying yes a lot of the time. So when it came to setting your own boundaries with people, did you get some negative feedback on that? Was it a case where, oh, what's going on? Why are you saying no?
I don't think I ever did know, because I think whenever I did say no, I always made sure to give a reason, I guess, and explain, like,
why?
No, yeah, like, no, I need to look after myself right now. I'm sorry. I would love to look after you, but right now I'm struggling myself, so I need to go away for a while, look after myself, and then I'll come back to you at a better time and help you.
Yeah, because I think when you're used to saying yes to people and you say no, some people might get offended by that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But, like, I think it's important to, I think it depends on the circumstance too, but I think it's important to understand that isn't, if you're looking after yourself, that isn't really for you to worry about.
Okay, so be in a place where you can put yourself first without feeling bad.
Yeah.
But like that, yeah. I think if you keep giving, you will run yourself to the ground. Yeah,
exactly. It sounds, I'm aware that it can sound selfish.
It does sound selfish, yeah.
But it's the most selfless thing you can do, because I find when I say no to someone,
Yeah.
and I will look after myself, I can come back at another time and help them in a much, much better way.
Okay. Instead of like
Yeah.
helping them when you're feeling run down
Yeah.
yourself, you're not really giving them the full attention
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
required.
You're not being present with them, and it's likely that you're probably going to give them like not the best advice, and you're going to be so you need to
be in the right place. And when you're talking about helping people, is there like people ringing you sometime to vent and say, Maeve, I'm stuck, what can I do?
Yeah. Or sometimes I think what happens the most is in the evening, if I'm texting a friend, they'll just unload everything onto me. And of course, if it's something very, very important, no matter what, I will be there for them. But if it's like something that's just that I know that they will be able to get help for from their family or something, I would say, look, I really, 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 really need to look after myself right now. And obviously that isn't like a frequent thing. That's like not every time my friends come to me and need help, I'm like, no, go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having my own downtime at the moment. I'll ring you back. Yeah. Yeah. And would you be what's the word I'm thinking of here? Sorry. Intuition. Yes. Would you be, is it right? What?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, sorry, oh, sorry. Intuition. Would you be like, when you talk about intuition, is that being in touch with, sorry, just explain that to me again. So my mind's gone blank there.
Intuition is being connected to yourself, and I think a lot of the times we look outside of ourselves for answers, but a lot of the times the answers are inside of ourselves.
Okay, yeah. And when you're in touch with that, I'm guessing it's not something that, it's not on constantly, it's something that, if you're in touch with your own intuition, does that mean that you're responding better? Like things are just happening the way you want them to happen?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of like a compass. It's like gentle nudges and...
Your inner compass, if you like.
Yeah, like your internal compass, yeah.
Go left, go right, yeah. And is it a process? Like, how do you get in touch with yours? Is that a case of meditating or spending a lot of time on your own? Not on your own, but listening to?
Definitely meditating. It's being disciplined and consistent with your meditation. I'd recommend meditating every single day, because then it puts you in a place where you can observe things in a different way. You can experience day-to-day life in a different way. You're a lot more present. You're not constantly thinking about the future and the past. And then that means you're a lot more grounded into this moment. You're a lot more connected to yourself, which means you're a lot more connected to your surroundings and other people. And then that way you can kind of feel things out more. So you can make decisions based on what your body feels like and what your mind is telling you.
Okay, so listen to your body more rather than your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, that sounds like a lot of meditation.
Yeah.
A lot of it, yeah, because the mind is obviously the louder out of the two. But for listening to your body, also you have to be in touch with your own feelings as well.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not someone that's used to sitting down with the feelings, that has to be difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, will that have to be like something that a practice, you have to actually be practicing being with your emotions before you get to that place where you can listen to your body.
Yeah, I think you have to get to a point where you can fully face and fully sit with your emotions, and then practicing meditation, and I would also say breath work is very helpful as well. Yeah.
And would you say that most of the time you spend, is your mind in a present moment or in the past? Past or future?
I would say that, it depends. If I'm in a phase in my life where I have a week where I'm really busy, I can easily get ungrounded and my mind can get very messy and I can start thinking about the past and the future. But if I'm able to get time where I can meditate every day, and I do tend to meditate every day and have breath work every day, I'm a lot more grounded in the moment. I can be the listener.
Do you prefer to listening or talking?
Listen, and what I mean by that is more like I can listen to my thoughts. Like I'm not so absorbed by my thoughts, and I'm not completely identified with my thoughts. I'm able to sit back and observe them and listen to them. Yeah.
So just a couple of more questions. So would you say you're in a situation that, so which one would you prefer? I have a question here that I just want to know. At this moment, would you rather be in a place that feels comfortable for you, or would you like to be in a place that challenges you? Not constantly, obviously.
Yeah. Well, at the moment, I'm trying to challenge myself a lot more. And I think I'm trying to do little things every single day to challenge myself. Because I'm trying to expand my comfort zone and grow and all that good stuff. Yeah, it's all about balance.
So it's doing a little bit.
Yeah.
Until just to know that. And have final 3 questions. What does well-being mean to you?
Say that again?
What does well-being mean to you? Like your well-being, what does it mean?
Well-being is it's a healthy mind, body and spirit. It's feeling, when I focus on my well-being, I'm able to nurture my confidence and my internal world and my body, and I can feed it good things and exercise it and move it, and I can nurture my soul by meditating and getting creative, and then I can feel energized and excited for life, and you can feel a big difference.
Yeah. And what's one thing you're proud of?
I'm proud of my ability to be vulnerable. I think that I know that I put myself in places where I'm very vulnerable, and I know that I put myself in places where I feel very at risk, or I might be quite easily judged, but I'm very proud that I've gone to the point where I've built I've built a very strong relationship with myself where I can still feel somewhat safe and proud of myself no matter what.
Super. I want to get to that place. And what's your why? Why are you doing all this? Like, because it sounds, what you're doing is different. So there's a lot of you probably face a lot of kickbacks and things like that. So what's your why? Like, why are you doing it? I'm guessing you have your own reason. Yeah,
I think. It's funny because I don't think I've ever really thought about it before. I think my why is honestly being authentic. And that might sound a bit cheesy, but throughout my entire life, I've internalized what other people say about me and what other people think about me so much. And I've learned that just being authentic and doing what I like feels 10 times better, and it makes life flow and it makes life so much more fun. So my why is just to be who I am and to do what I love, and that's all that matters to me. All that matters to me is the people that I love and myself, and that's my why.
Yeah, super. Yeah, that's it. That was all my questions. That was all my questions. You okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope I did alright.
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. I'm just gonna stop this. Learning how to edit anyway, so I will be, when I do the editing, I'll send you the full version of it if you like. After I crop all my mistakes that I'm gonna make. So I'm just gonna, yeah. So I'm still not using this part. Okay. Yeah. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a quick review on my Facebook page, Don't Be Afraid to Talk, or DM me on Instagram. The show notes will include all of the relevant links from today's episode. If you haven't already, please download, leave a rating, and share with your friends. You might just reach that person who needs to hear this message. Please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. I am James Lumumba, signing off with gratitude.